You wake up tired even when you slept. You scroll through things you don't care about. You laugh at things that don't really feel funny. And somewhere underneath all of it, there is a quiet question you keep avoiding. Is this really my life? There is something going on, and you can feel it, but you can't quite name it. And that's what makes it dangerous, because when you cannot name a problem, you cannot confront it. You go to work, you come home, you distract yourself. Maybe you hit the gym, maybe you watch something, maybe you chase short bursts of pleasure. And on paper everything looks fine. You're functioning, you're moving forward, you're doing what you're supposed to do. But there's this strange emptiness that doesn't go away. Like you're watching your own life instead of actually living it. Like something is slightly off, but you can't explain why. You tell yourself, it's just a phase. Maybe you need more money. Maybe you need a relationship. Maybe you need a better body. So you keep chasing, but every time you reach something you thought would fix it, the feeling comes back, sometimes even stronger. And that's when it starts to get unsettling, because now you realize it's not about what you don't have. It's about something deeper that you've lost. This is what happens when you become disconnected from your real identity. When you build a life based on expectations instead of truth. When you adapt so well to the world around you that you slowly forget who you actually are. And the frustration you feel isn't random. It's suppressed, it's accumulated. It's years of small compromises stacking on top of each other until one day your life feels like a role you're playing. That's why the feeling is so hard to describe, because nothing is technically wrong, but everything feels wrong. And your mind doesn't know how to process that contradiction, so it creates noise, distractions, overthinking, anything to avoid facing the real issue, which is that you are out of alignment with yourself. There's a reason this pattern shows up so often in modern life, because we live in a system that rewards conformity more than authenticity. From a young age you are taught what success should look like, what you should want, how you should behave, and if you follow that path well enough, you can build a life that looks perfect from the outside while feeling completely empty on the inside. If you think about it, this isn't new. People have always struggled with identity. But what's different now is the scale, the constant exposure to other people's lives, the pressure to optimize everything, the idea that you should always be improving, always moving forward, always becoming something. And in that process, you forget to ask a simple question. Is this even what I want? This is where things start to escalate, because suppressed frustration doesn't just disappear. It builds, it leaks into your mood, your energy, your relationships. You become more irritable, more disconnected, less present, and eventually it turns into a quiet resentment, not just towards your life, but towards yourself for not understanding why you feel this way. The problem isn't that you hate your life. The problem is that you built a life without fully choosing it. And those are not the same thing, because when you consciously choose something, even if it's hard, there's meaning in it. But when you drift into something without awareness, it starts to feel like a trap. This is exactly what Tyler Durden represents in Fight Club. He isn't just chaos for the sake of it. He's the embodiment of everything the main character suppressed. The anger, the desire for freedom, the rejection of a life that felt manufactured. Tyler doesn't appear randomly. He emerges when the character can no longer tolerate the gap between who he is and the life he's living. And that's why he feels so real, because in some way that version exists in everyone who has ignored themselves for too long. The danger is that when that side finally surfaces, it doesn't come out calmly. It comes out extreme, because it's been buried for so long that it has no balance, only force. So now, you're in a position where something inside you knows this isn't right, but you don't know what to do about it. And that's where most people get stuck, because they think the solution is to change everything externally. New job, new relationship, new environment. But if the internal disconnection is still there, you just recreate the same problem in a different setting. Here are a few things that might shift your perspective. The first is that boredom is often misinterpreted. It's not always a lack of stimulation. Sometimes it's a lack of meaning. You can be busy all day and still feel empty because none of it connects to who you are. The second is that comfort can be deceptive. Just because something feels safe doesn't mean it's right. In fact, the longer you stay in something that doesn't align with you, the harder it becomes to leave, because you start to build your identity around it. The third is that distraction is not neutral. Every time you avoid that feeling, instead of facing it, you reinforce the cycle. You teach your mind that this discomfort should be escaped, not understood. The fourth is that clarity doesn't come from thinking more. It comes from experiencing differently. You don't figure out who you are by sitting in the same patterns that made you feel lost in the first place. And the fifth is that you already have signals. That feeling you keep trying to ignore, that quiet dissatisfaction, that lack of excitement, that's not weakness, that's information. It's your mind telling you something needs to change. When you put all of this together, the realization becomes clear. You don't hate your life for no reason. You hate the version of life that isn't truly yours. And until you start making decisions that are aligned with your actual values, that feeling will keep coming back no matter what you achieve. The shift isn't about blowing everything up. It's about becoming honest, brutally honest, about what you actually want versus what you've been conditioned to want, and then slowly adjusting your life in that direction. Not dramatically, but deliberately. Start paying attention to what genuinely engages you. Not what looks good, not what impresses people, but what makes you feel present. Start questioning the routines you've accepted without thought. Start removing the things that drain you, even if they seem normal. And most importantly, start making small choices that reflect who you are, rather than who you think you should be. It won't feel comfortable at first, because you're stepping out of a familiar identity, but that discomfort is different. It's not empty, it's alive, and that's how you know you're moving in the right direction. At the end of the day, the goal isn't to create a perfect life, it's to create a life that feels real to you. Because when something is real, even the hard parts have meaning, and meaning is what removes that underlying emptiness. So if you've been feeling like something is off, but you can't explain it, that's your starting point, not your weakness. And the more you ignore it, the louder it will get. But the moment you start listening, even slightly, things begin to change. Because the truth is, you don't hate your life. You hate living a life that doesn't feel like yours. And that question you woke up with at the beginning, is this really my life? That's the one you can't afford to ignore anymore. Now everything you do from this point should be an answer to that question. You wake up tired, you scroll, you laugh at things that don't feel real, and now you understand why. Not because your life is broken, but because it's disconnected. The discomfort you feel isn't random, it's a signal. And the moment you start responding to it, instead of numbing it, your life starts to become something you actually recognize. That's how you close the gap between the life you're living and the person you are. And that's how you stop feeling like a stranger in your own life.